What's going on, Commonwealth, and welcome back to another episode of the Bluegrass Soccer Cast, your home for all things soccer right here in the beautiful Commonwealth of Kentucky. I'm Jimmy. That's John. John, what kind of chips you got today? As you take a giant bite. You have pretzels. Lovely pretzels.
Typically do.
There you go. I'm a big pretzel guy, especially like a sporting event, so I can appreciate that. John, we're always going to start out like this because I love doing this for some weird reason. Random icebreaker question of the day. Do you fold your pizza?
Depends on the pizza.
That's a really good point. Like if it's New York style, yeah, you typically
New York
fold it,
style
right?
is meant to be folded because New York style is designed to be taken from a random, but what do they call them?
Bodega?
Yeah, bodega. Same thing with like a sub or that type of thing.
A hoagie?
Like I don't think they call them hoagies. I think that's a
hero.
Philly thing.
Are they hero?
I think it's a Philly thing. I don't know.
Oh, nah.
We're
clearly not from New York.
Though I'll say this: the Northeast is too jam packed to have like this very and they're too close together to have this much variation in how they talk.
Yes.
Anywho, yes, but if it's like a New York style, I will like fold it in half, ish. But I'm from Detroit. In Detroit style, you don't fold.
Right. I was going to ask about that. So what style do you prefer?
So if I had to pick, I would say I prefer kind of like the Domino's pan pizza style. So like
so kind of Detroit style,
thicker round style. I like Detroit style pizza. Surprisingly
Detroit
enough,
is square, right?
So yeah. So Chicago and Detroit both have like the deep dish stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit does it in a square pan, and it's maybe an inch thick.
Yeah.
Chicago can be like the size of my head thick. Sometimes.
Yeah, it can be real thick.
It's a cake.
Yeah. If you think of like Little Caesars, they do a lot of that Detroit style pizza. Or
Little Caesars.
Oh, there's a smaller chain.
Jets.
There it is. Detroit
Jets
style
is
pizza.
really
there
good. Jets
is
really
good. Well, when I could eat cheese.
There's a lot of pizza chains from Michigan. Hungry Howie's, which is not that big, is from
I've heard of it.
Domino's, Little Caesars, Jets are like the big four. They're all from the Detroit area.
Well, but we all know that the best pizza is Papa John's pizza because that's from Louisville, Kentucky. That's right. Totally not a sellout in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Papa John's, if you want to sponsor
Papa John's is mid.
Come on. Okay, hold on now. I'm trying to get a sponsorship. But you're right.
Can we get real pizza sponsored? I'm not saying... Listen. As a native Detroiter, I am okay with Little Caesars. I am okay with it. If it's warm. If it's actually fresh.
Yeah.
Little Caesars that is sat out for like 2 hours is cardboard.
Oh, yeah. No,
it's cardboard.
Can't eat that. So, yeah. Anybody want to sponsor us? We'd appreciate it. But, John, for today, I want to do our more traditional, off the top, bottom line, like we normally do. But for the off the top segment today, I kind of want to think a little more broadly. Again, I really enjoyed our conversation of like the USL draft and stuff like that. So, for the folks who are, just here for like just the facts about Kentucky, we're gonna get to that for the bottom line where we do our weekly previews and stuff like that. But I want to step outside of the Commonwealth and just kind of talk about expansion, right? And talk about, where things could happen. And we'll talk about Kentucky as well. But so that's kind of the preamble for today. But John, let's go off the top. And I want to start with this graphic that I found, and I think I sent it to you. So this is a list of basically the top 55 TV markets, 56 TV markets in the United States, and it kind of breaks it down by like what level there's a team at, right? So we started at the top. This was released before some things happened where Queensboro folded and Brooklyn FC, I think. I think that's what they're going to go with. It has come into that USL champion slot there. But as you can see, even in New York, they don't have a clear all the way across um, listing. They have everything but League One or NISA, and I think there's surprisingly room in those league or in New York City for those leagues. I could easily see Queensboro jumping. I know that they folded from the USL, but maybe they go to NISA, and there's a team in Queens. I know that NYCFC is kind of filling that Queens void there, but maybe they could have two teams. LA. Yeah, go for it.
See, here's my issue, and we saw this with what's going on with San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Is I don't
San Diego down there at number 17.
Yeah, I really don't think there can be a place that has like all of them. Even New York. It would have to be. It could be a further like a fringe city of New York, like maybe something that's like 30 minutes out type thing. Same thing with like Chicago, like what's it, Naperville or something like that. Naperville, yeah, that's like the famous. People are from there, but they're actually they say they're from Chicago, but they're actually like from 40 minutes out.
But
I could see them
Chicago
existing.
Goes even an hour out. Like even people from DeKalb would say they're from Chicago.
That's what I'm saying. I can see a team forming there because they're out there. That's outside of Chicago. I just, being someone who is from an area that has 3 teams ish in Detroit, which on this graphic, where is Detroit?
I was just looking for it. I have to be overlooking it.
It's number 15, 14.
Yeah, I was definitely overlooking it. 14.
We have three-ish teams in the area with Detroit City FC, Michigan Gold Stars, Michigan Stars, and Gold Stars.
There's a difference?
Yeah, I think so. One plays in like Romeo and one plays at like Madonna. But I can tell you right now, no one really cares about anyone outside of Detroit City besides a small group of fans for each team. Mm-hmm. So that's where my thing is I don't think New York really is going to get the people. They might have some people because there's a small contingent of Lou fans that are also Lexington fans. That's the thing. It's small.
Yeah.
It is very small. Lou City itself to racing is a good example where Lou City itself gets they're averaging 10,000 this year, and racing is, at least at the game we went to when Lou City was out of town, it drew like 5,000.
Yeah, it wasn't very much. So kind of looking at it, I do think if you're going to be in a city, New York, Chicago, LA, whatever, right? Like I agree with you. You need to be in the boroughs. You need to be in the suburbs as well. You can't just put, 3 teams in Times Square or something like that. Obviously, that would be ridiculous.
Yeah, but, racing is averaging 4,000 less per game than Lou, playing in the same stadium.
Yeah. But I think there is something to be said about creating that neighborhood kind of camaraderie that could really benefit some of these teams, right? So we'll go to Chicago for your example, because I think that was a really good one. They could easily keep the Fire, which are dog doo-doo, at least by fan support. And their whole, I remember a few years ago with their old logo with the red and the yellow. My God, people.
You mean when they got rid of the Chicago like fire department and went like, this is a fire, when it was like the stupidest looking fire representative ever. It was the same thing with like
bad.
I'll say this: I liked the rebrand. The Chicago one was bad. The Montreal one was okay, at least logo wise, in my
The
opinion.
snowflake.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
looked
liked
okay,
the snowflake. I thought it was an interesting
but
design choice.
their fans
Oh
backlashed, and
God, they hated it.
I was like, okay, so it's not that good. The logo is
Mm-hmm.
okay, but that's the thing. You could
Right.
do a perfect rebrand.
Yeah.
And we're getting a little off topic. You can do a perfect rebrand, but if the fans don't like it, it doesn't matter how good the logo looks and all that type of stuff.
Well, and pulling us back here, if we're talking about a city like Chicago, right? You could keep your MLS team, obviously, keep your MLS Next Pro team, which is your
See,
Chicago Fire 2, etc. Keep your NWSL, but I think there's room for a USL team, whether it's Chicago House from our draft a few weeks ago, or something more specific to like a Schaumburg or Naperville,
I
Aurora,
think
something like that.
I think in our lower leagues, especially Chicago, New York, LA, heck, even Miami at this moment, can be
Yeah,
very much city thing because that's what London is. London has
yeah,
8 teams in the Prem, and none of them have London in their
yeah.
name.
There's no
Chelsea
London
is a
FC.
neighborhood of
Yeah,
of ugh, technically Chelsea itself is not technically a neighborhood, but Chelsea is a region. Like
hmm,
you're a fan of Chelsea if you're in this region. Fulham is a neighborhood of London. Brentford is a neighborhood of London, and all this type of stuff. They're all related to where they're at. So
right.
that's where I think you could go in the route of like, out like New York. That's the thing with the USL one side. It's Brooklyn is coming. It's not New. It's not a New York team. It's
It's
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I agree with you. I think that works better. I still wonder though. Is there room for a Queensboro with NYCFC moving to Queens? Is there room for them at this point?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think it would be really tough for them.
If you're in, I could see maybe if they did a partnership type thing,
Maybe
which
that was
that
like their in what is it, MLS Next Pro or whatever, or
maybe, yeah. That's the thing that I think is hurts the most with the closed system and MLS Next Pro is that they didn't go the route of partnerships. Like I'm
right.
all for an open system, but like there's no reason, in my opinion, if I'm FC Cincinnati, there's no reason I'm not doing loans to Lou City or Lex
Yeah,
just to because
even
it
Nashville.
keeps the kid that's a competitor.
Well, yeah,
I'm
okay.
talking
Well,
like
no, I'm saying like
down.
Nashville to Louisville,
Oh
Nashville to
yeah,
Lexington.
that sort of thing because that keeps them close too.
Hmm.
It's not like, oh, I'm going to loan them all the way out to some European team,
Yeah,
some Mexican team, and all of a sudden, like it's really hard to keep track or it's hard to see them in person.
right,
Whereas, like if I'm FC Cincinnati, I can send like the assistant general manager, director of scouting, if Lex and Cincy are playing at the same time, and go watch Kimball or Josh Head, who are both players from their academy that have since joined Lex.
right. Now, something that I am interested in, and I just don't know a whole lot about it, is how does that work for between the MLS and the MLS Next Pro teams? Like, is there
I
movement that
think
can
they're viewed
happen?
as the B sides, like
Okay,
reserve sides. So like how it is over in Europe type of thing. So like the Premier League has a whole B like league that is just B
hmm,
teams. Whereas in like Italy, the B
they're kind
teams
of
play in
mixed.
like they're like in Serie C, and same with the Bundesliga, but there has to be at least 2 league separation. So Juventus's B side can't play higher than Serie C.
Okay. Well, but then if, just picking on Nashville for example, their MLS Next Pro team is going to be in Huntsville. So, a direct competitor to Lou City, to Lexington, one Knox. Why couldn't we work on that kind of a system where, like you mentioned, loaning out players? Because it's not going to be a situation where you're sitting in, a reserve spot in Huntsville and go start for Lou City. Like, that's not going to happen. At least I don't think it would happen, right?
No, I don't think
Like
so.
the competition level doesn't match.
And we've seen it happen. There's been loans to the USL sides from MLS. There's been USL sides themselves. Like, what's his name? I know him because I don't know his last name, but his first name is Wolfgang. He was on Madison on loan from the Oakland Roots
to Madison.
Yeah, he didn't get a lot of playing time, but he was there. Huh. I just know of him because he's like a 22-year-old named Wolfgang.
Interesting.
But in terms of like markets that could do it, what are you thinking? There's obviously one obvious one there
that could have a team, or that could have like a full list across the way.
That could have a team at a level.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at kind of the chart here, everything that's boxed in red is a market that is in the top 57, 75 with Boise down there, that doesn't have any kind of a pro team. There's one that I'm going to immediately eliminate, and unfortunately, that's Honolulu. I just don't think that travel is feasible. Especially if they went for like a USL League One. Oof.
Like, I could see it. I could see a USL 2 side because they regionalized that.
Yeah, I guess so. But then you're still flying to California for every match, or Oregon, Washington.
I could see it.
One specific place that I am absolutely surprised that there's no soccer. Baltimore, Maryland. I am surprised that they don't have any kind of soccer.
Isn't there the Maryland Bobcats play?
Yeah, but I think they're so far out that I don't think they even identify as a Baltimore team. Now I could be completely wrong. Let me pull up the old googly googer and just see.
The Maryland Soccerplex in Boys, Maryland, which is
yeah, it's pretty far out there.
They're closer to Washington.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't know why Baltimore doesn't. Baltimore is a good sports town, but also there's been talks of teams leaving Baltimore. Like there's been recent talks of the Orioles. The Orioles ownership.
They can't do that. You can't leave Camden.
I don't think they would, but one of the brothers was like making some offhanded remark that was basically like, well, move.
That is one of the most iconic stadiums in American history. Like you can't leave it.
Well, it's
like
because it's the new.
Make it work.
It was the throwback. It's the modern. It was the first modern throwback stadium.
Yeah. Yeah. No, they
because
can't.
Before that, you had like the Astrodome and the stupid, ugly multi-use stadiums.
Yeah, the round ones.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I'm most surprised is where I would go. Where would you go?
Well, Milwaukee has a team on here. What I'm most surprised is the Northern Ohio, and there is rumors
Cleveland?
there is rumors of like an Akron thing for USL 1. It hasn't been that well. It's just been like a rumor type thing. There's not really been much on it. Like literally, the only things you can find are on Reddit, which take Reddit with what you will, because I've learned through Reddit. It's like, well, I've heard somewhere, and it's just like it's not anything of evidence. It's just someone heard something.
Right. Now, I saw this as well, and it was a team that I wanted to talk about. The website looks great. Apparently, they do have the Twitter handle, but again, anybody can have that. Like literally anybody.
What was it?
So I agree with you. I think it's interesting that this has popped onto the radar. It says 24, but I don't think there's any chance of that happening. That just seems too soon with no announcement, right? Yeah. So I agree. I think Cleveland or Canton Akron. Honestly, Canton Akron seems more like, well, maybe they are USL champion and there maybe is an MLS team down the road. Like I could see something like that, but Canton and Akron don't seem champion level.
The thing with Cleveland that hurts it, it's so close to Columbus. Like Columbus is smack dab in the middle of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's at this point it's too, with Columbus being so legendary and around for so long, it'd be really hard for a Cleveland team to come in.
Now I do remember hearing rumors in the MLS that when Columbus was looking to basically build a new stadium or move, the two places they were threatening to go, Austin, Texas, and Cleveland. I remember hearing that. So there's clearly interest in the MLS, but I don't know with what you just mentioned there. Does that mean, Columbus doesn't have a team anymore? Obviously, FC Cincinnati is going nowhere. And I wouldn't think even the Columbus Crew are going anywhere either. But yeah, so I think Cleveland, maybe you're the state to get three. You get three MLS clubs. California have three. Yeah, California has three, soon to be four.
No,
wait, they have four. Yeah, they have three right now, right?
Yeah. I will say the most interesting one on this list, in my opinion, is Boise. Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a team for like anything.
Nothing. Like I'm sure they've got minor league baseball, but
that's it. Like there's not, and it'd be real interesting because I think it's the thing with like Portland, Maine. Like Portland, Maine surprised me, in all honesty. So I'm like, if the league is okay with Portland, Maine, which is in the middle of nowhere, type thing, Boise seems about right. That is truly the middle of nowhere. Like the people in the Northeast still have like Boston, close by. Boise, they're on the other side of the Rockies from like Seattle and Oregon, and then it's like Colorado closest, Denver.
Yeah, I guess the closest will be
in between that.
Yeah, the closest will be Spokane. I think, as I'm pretty sure Spokane is on that side of Washington.
It is more on the west. It's more on the west. I know that. But let's look. But because also Boise's in like the lower corner of Idaho.
Mm-hmm. This is great radio. If you're just listening, us frantically.
Spokane is 6.5 hours from Boise. It's like a direct south shot.
Mm-hmm. It's like Spokane is closer to Moscow, Idaho, which is where like the University of Idaho is, as opposed to Boise State and Boise. But so if they would have a natural rival.
If they say join USL 1, the closest team to them would be Spokane because northern Colorado is 12 hours away.
Yeah, which still could be a nice rivalry. Like, that's not that far off.
They have a rivalry with Fresno or Fuego.
Yeah,
and so Fuego is 12 hours from Boise. So it literally would be Spokane.
I'm assuming that we're kind of focusing on Boise as a USL League One team then?
Because if you look, League One dominates this third column.
Mm-hmm.
There are some championship sides in there, and there's Tucson, which is up in the air if they're coming back or not.
Yeah. Quick
They're doing a
editor's
community
note.
fundraiser.
There is a third team in Texas. I totally forgot.
Yeah.
Austin, Houston, and Dallas. My apologies.
Tucson's doing this like community thing, but I don't
Trying to
know if
raise
that's
money
for USL2 or not, because right now they're technically folded. They're not playing. But there's, if you count Tucson in there, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 on out of, can't really tell these numbers.
Yeah, sorry, I've got it pulled up.
But there's, and then the other ones are real close too. The highest, Charlotte is the highest League One side, but that Charlotte is playing in the sense of a market where an MLS team exists.
Now, Charlotte is one of the teams that I wanted to talk about. I did kind of see, let me find my article here. There was a little bit of news, maybe Charlotte folding. Again, kind of following the Reddit train. So, dear Lord knows what anything can be said. But, I really want to question, can Charlotte compete in a city with a young, hopping an MLS team right in the same market? I don't think they can, but I don't know where to see the franchise fold. I want to be abundantly clear on that. But if you look at North Carolina, it's pretty full with, Cary having a team. I just dropped all of the teams in North Carolina.
Move them to Baltimore or Virginia Beach.
Now, Virginia Beach would be a really good one. And I know I've heard a lot from Major League Baseball fans talking about how Virginia
Baseball
Beach
fans,
is a prime place.
baseball fans have been trying to get Major League Baseball in these like niche towns for some reason.
Yeah.
Because they have a really good minor league support, but that's the thing. There's minor league and then there's major league support type thing. And it's just like Virginia Beach to me is like the biggest tourist thing. Like it's a tour.
Yeah.
Like Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area has a large population.
Right.
But that large population is because they need workers for all the attractions.
Right. Well, and people will drive from Knoxville to that. Like, it's not that far of a drive, right? So that kind of inflates that whole region.
Drive. It's a 2-3 hour drive for me. So I can do like a day trip down there, and it's like this perfect little niche because you have like the national park, you have what I call kid Vegas.
It is. It absolutely is Kid Vegas. I'm stealing that because that is exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's Kid not Vegas. Casinos. It's stuff that kids would want to do. Yes, it's all the racetracks, putt, random weird attractions, but they are good. Like
we're gonna start a hashtag. Kid Vegas.
The upside down place, like Wonderworks or whatever.
Oh, Ripley's, cool. Believe it or not. Yeah.
No. The upside down like building. That looks like a.
I thought that was Ripley's.
It might be in there. I don't know. I've been in there. It was cool and stuff.
Hashtag Kid Vegas. I love it. But so, if we're kind of looking at the chart here, John, I think we can kind of mark off a couple of these, right? Like I'm going to kick Honolulu. How do you feel about Grand Rapids?
So Grand Rapids is a growing city, and it's been talked about for a while in terms of more teams. In a sense, I could see them getting a USL one side. However, like Lansing had one, and Lansing's 30-40 minutes from Grand Rapids, and they folded. Lansing's like soccer thing is weird because they've had like 5 or 6 teams in like 20 years. Dang. Because one will come around, it'll do okay, and then it will fold, and then literally another one will pop right back up.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's just the leadership of the clubs are what's failing them, because it seems at least there's interest, or there wouldn't be like a after so many folds or dropping.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a League One could fit that. Maybe a Nisa, but I'm not for sure.
See, I don't Nisa. I could see because Nisa is dirt cheap to get into.
Yeah. How
Uh,
far is the Michigan Stars from Grand Rapids?
the Michigan Stars are by Detroit, so like 2 hours.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there's room for it to breathe in.
Like Nisa's
Buffalo.
expansion
Oh, go
fee.
for it.
Buffalo, I'm surprised does not have one.
Now, before we jump to Buffalo, finish what you were saying there.
There is technically no Nisa expansion fee. There is a team performance bond and a player registration fee, and referee fees per
Interesting.
game. So there is like I don't know, however many games they play. You have to pay $330 per game per team. So that's any game you go to. So all your
That's
games,
interesting.
$50 per player, and $1,000 team performance bond on top of your players' salaries.
Oh, so you have to pay the players.
Yeah.
Okay. So that makes sense. So if you're going to pay your players, hey, this is the first time I've actually felt kind of positively towards Nisa for not
Well,
having that franchise fee.
Nisa is a really they are the definition of a semi-pro, fully professional thing. Because
Right.
a lot of their teams, there's a lot of cases of people not being paid well, or they're only really paid for games, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird. It's independent soccer association, so that's why there's no franchise fees, because it's like, which is weird. So the thing with franchise fees, it helps the league as a whole exist, because the
Right.
league can then use that expansion fee to help get you off the ground, to help with other stuff, and it kind of has this buy-in market.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't have that, there's not that incentive to necessarily stay, and that's why we've seen some teams just leave, or
Right.
they'll use NISA as a fundraising thing.
And
And
then
so that's
springboard up.
yeah, and that's where USL One is interesting, because it's only a $5 million expansion fee, and that's a
Only.
lot. That
Yeah, I was
is a
about to say that's a
lot,
lot of money.
but in the grand scheme of it, there are a lot of people that make $1 million
True.
or have $1 million to spend, so they just need to find 4 other people,
But I think I still think
or
you
you
have to
can
have
raise
one
it
owner who has that net
30%.
worth of 30 million,
Oh yeah,
who
there's
has that
net
that
worth is stupid.
35% or something like that. So it is a little more murky than just saying like, oh, it's only 5 mil.
But that's still
um
easier than 20 million for a
oh yeah,
championship. And what is it? What does San Diego pay? 500 million?
for the MLS, yeah,
Yeah.
which is outrageous. So if we're kind of just working backwards up the list here, Buffalo, New York. You were starting to say something about them a second ago.
I'm surprised, don't have a team at all,
Yeah,
but I also get it.
yeah.
Because
The
Buffalo
weather.
only Buffalo only has 2 teams. They have a
Yep.
minor league baseball team, but they only have 2 teams. They had an NBA team and lost it.
The
Uh,
Braves.
yes. And to my knowledge, they've never had a major league baseball team. They have a minor league AAA team that's for Toronto, but that's also the thing, is Toronto's really close to Buffalo. That this map doesn't show, because this map is only
Yeah,
focusing on U.S.
U.S.
And so that's where you have the case of like Seattle, Vancouver, which are only
Yeah.
an hour apart, and they
Mm-hmm.
work too. So it's interesting. Buffalo is definitely an interesting case. I'm curious how many Toronto fans make the trip over the border.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, for the Bills, right? Like, yeah, it's going to be a lot, but for like the Sabers, I
Well,
don't
the
know.
Sabres aren't going to get support.
Yeah, like there's
because the Maple Leafs are one
there
of
it
the
is.
biggest teams in Canada.
Yeah.
As cursed as they are, but the Bills, it's a different league,
Right.
than what Canada has. It's a whole separate thing. So that's where I think they could survive. A USL one side, maybe a championship side, could thrive. But
That's exactly where I'm at.
the question is, how many Toronto fans are in Buffalo? How many soccer fans that are willing to travel to Toronto? Because that's the ones you gotta get, and that's the thing where which is what I don't get about some Lexington fans, because they play up in Georgetown, which is not that as far as Cincinnati. It was like, well, I'll just go to Cincinnati, and yeah, it's a better. I was like, you're complaining about a drive and then choosing to drive to go to a game
Even longer.
So yeah,
I agree. I think Buffalo for a League One seems about right. I like to think a lot of this in like college football mindset, right? So if you look at the University of Buffalo, they play in the MAC. They've been kind of rumored maybe to be going to the American or something like that because of their academic prowess and blah, blah, blah. Wrong podcast for that. But like a USL League One team seems to be pretty equated to having a MAC school. So I think that would be a good place for them. Now, the next place on this list is New Orleans, and I just don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it any level. I'm surprised there's not a NISA. No. So they were on the original, like they had been rumored a couple of times of having a New Orleans champion team. But I just looked right now, and the expansion sides on the USL champion website, it lists 3: Milwaukee, Rhode Island, and Iowa. That's it. So I know they've got a website, they've got a Twitter account, and all of that kind of stuff.
That doesn't have Jacksonville on there. And they've been gaining traction.
Exactly.
So we'll see with that type of stuff.
But yeah,
it could happen. Don't see New Orleans. New Orleans is a weird city because the Saints are well supported,
right?
But the Pelicans aren't. Really aren't.
Yeah,
that's why they lost the team originally.
Yep.
The Pelicans are so badly supported that they were called the Hornets forever.
Nobody paid attention.
Granted, the Jazz are still the Jazz, even though they've been playing there for 70 years.
They've been in Utah for forever because there's a lot of Jazz in Utah.
Well, they started in New Orleans. They were the New Orleans Jazz. So it's like, that's cool. And then they moved to Utah.
That's a great name.
The whitest state in America.
Yep.
Where there's Mormons. Utah is the Mormon state. So they don't do jazz dancing and stuff like that. And they're like, we're just gonna be the Jazz. We're gonna stay the Jazz.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say if New Orleans is gonna support anything, maybe a NISA side, but who knows. Next is Milwaukee, which we know is getting a team. Still, fingers crossed that they choose the Tall Boys as the name, because if it's not the official name, by God, that's my nickname for them forever. That was too good. Next, we have Jacksonville, which we kind of hinted on. I still don't know what's going on with that. As far as are they going to be able to get a team going or not? I know the Jaguars, the football team, the American football team down there, they're looking to do millions of dollars in renovations to their stadium, and they need a place to play, that can be suitable for 2 years. So I had heard some stuff about how maybe the Jags would help. I think it's called Jacksonville Armada. I think that's the club that might be coming up to USL or something like that. Might help the Armada build a stadium, as long as the Jags can use it and stuff like that.
Maybe. I know the Jags were looking for a new stadium.
Yeah. Because they had even rumored going and playing at the Daytona International Speedway,
which is just terrible,
mind blowing. Like every seat, you would have to have binoculars. So, yeah, Jacksonville, I don't know what's going on there, but again, not officially listed on the USL website anymore. So who knows? Providence, Rhode Island, we know they're coming. Um, yeah, I had a moment of panic. I was like, wait, are they? Virginia Beach, we talked about
They're
that.
the most legit
Rhode Island?
of the championship ones.
Yeah.
They have dropped their logo. They've dropped all that type of stuff. They are the most legit. Like Milwaukee, yes, has gone down to their last like 10 names, and I have heard nothing out of Iowa. Like absolutely.
I've heard some stuff. They are still so the city, Des Moines, is still pushing back against the ownership group because the city doesn't want to pay anything for the stadium. So now the pro franchise is trying to partner with like Drake University, and like the local school systems to like build a new stadium and like fund it through that as well. So it would still be mostly privately funded, but still get some public funds from the school system as well as the university. But that's the only hang up, as far as I know, with Iowa. That I haven't seen anything about a name, like with Milwaukee, like we talked about, like they've are having those competitions. I haven't seen that. Maybe I've missed it and they already have something picked. But
Well, I think that's the issue is that the league, the both leagues or USL as a whole does a really bad job with coverage
yes.
and type stuff. I can't tell you how much press releases from from USL League One are full of typos or full of misinformation. They said the player to watch for the Fuego game for Lex was Tariq Muhammad, which I was fine with. But they said he picked up an assist against NOCO on Wednesday. While serving a suspension. And I was like, does
Yeah.
no one double? Is this just like I genuinely think it's probably written by like a group of 3 or 4 interns who don't share information with each other, who don't even look at their league information. Like that's something
Nope.
I would look at. Like I wrote this. This might be right. Let me double check this
Yeah.
before I go push this. Or like an editor, someone has to be like double. You're from the league. Like you are the league. That's really bad.
Yeah. Real
And it's
bad.
consistent too. 1 or 2, whatever, it happens, I can get it. But if it's consistently bad or wrong typos or stuff that just doesn't make sense, that's concerning.
Yeah, I don't get it either because I've seen it a few times. Like, get a free Grammarly account, like something. Like I'm really bad at spelling. Like I am no one to talk about anything
Well, no,
like
it's not
that.
spelling. Their grammar is fine. It's like information is wrong.
Yeah, I guess you're right. So it wouldn't help, would it? So then, kind of moving up the list here, we talked about Virginia Beach. I think they could have a D. I said D1, a League One team. Do you think that they could go any higher than that?
I think they could. They're right behind Nashville
Yeah,
in a sense, and they're higher than Salt Lake. But um, it's
yeah. Salt Lake, the lowest of the MLS sides.
it'd be interesting to see because like you said, Virginia Beach has always been thrown around as this like potential thing with multiple leagues, yet they haven't gotten anything.
Yeah,
There's nothing. So I feel like it's either people's wishful thinking or they might just there's no one there that cares enough or has deep enough pockets to like start the movement of bringing like a semi pro fully professional side to Virginia Beach outside of minor league baseball.
And then kind of closing out here, we talked about Cleveland. I think that's a USL Championship or an MLS team written all over it. Same for Baltimore. Now, we didn't talk about Riverside or Santa Barbara or San Bernardino. Sorry. Any thoughts on those last three there, John?
Okay, San Bernardino. Where is that?
I think it's kind of in the LA area. I'm gonna let you look it up.
It's the outskirts of like Anaheim, LA.
Okay.
So no, that's where I'm at. That like no, because it's just
that's not far from Carson, then, right?
That's not far from Carson-ish, but it's so compact. What LA? I think LA is the only side with almost everything because they have multiple NISA sides.
Yeah,
I know that. They have Orange County in the champion. I think the only thing they're missing is USL 1. Literally. And they have Santa Barbara, which I believe is close to that area.
Yeah, they're not on this list. Not that I saw, at least. So yeah, I agree with you. I think that's just too close. Like Riverside, UC Riverside, the university there, San Bernardino, very popular touristy kind of spot. But oh yeah, hey, they're the Michigan Bobcats or the Maryland Bobcats right there, right next
Santa
to the
Barbara.
DC.
Santa Barbara is 2 hours from LA, and that's mainly thanks to traffic.
Right.
So probably an hour with non-LA traffic.
So I think there's room for expansion, room for not expansion, room for regression as well. In my opinion, in Charlotte's case, and I think there's some room for teams to slide down a little bit further, like a Miami FC sliding down to like a League One status, etc. But there were two other teams that I kind of wanted to hit on, John, and they were just kind of random posts online. There was one that was a tweet from an account called Wall Street Wolves FC. So it was a team that was trying to take over that USL champion spot in New York that eventually went to Brooklyn. So unless there's stuff going on behind the scenes that I'm not aware of, I don't think they have any chance going in.
That sounds like the biggest meme team ever.
Yeah, Wall Street Wolves. Yeah. And then the last one
no one identifies with Wall Street. Wall Street is in Manhattan.
Yeah, it's a building, a place.
It's a road. It's an actual road.
Yeah.
But it's not. No one is like, I'm from Wall Street. It's I work on Wall Street.
Right. And then the last one was Lane United, who they're trying to like fundraise and get support to build up to USL League One. Their ownership group is a group called FC Game Changers. So they have some interesting stuff. They've got a couple of blog posts about it from this summer. So if you're interested in learning more about it, feel free to give that a look.
Where are they based?
I couldn't figure it out. And that's why I didn't say it. Yeah, I couldn't figure it out. So while you're looking that up, and then I do know from some sources, from people that I've talked to, that there's another market in Kentucky that has sparked interest in the USL League One, particularly. And then there's a market in Tennessee that also has connections to USL League One. But I believe, from what I've been told, the thing that is holding both of them back is the ability to have that owner with the most amount of money and that kind of stuff. So I will not be surprised that within the next 2 years, if there's not 3 Kentucky USL teams, as well as Tennessee would then have 3 as well. 3 USL teams plus the MLS. So 4 total. But throwing that little nugget out there. And John, with that out of the way, we will now go to the bottom line. John, this week we just have a few matchups, not too many to go over. Let's start with looking at Lou City and their upcoming match. As I'm trying to get the there it is. They are hosting the SD Loyals in a critical game for them this weekend. After dropping that match to Tampa last week, they are still in fourth place, the last team to host. They at this point really have no realistic shot of getting to third, because they're 9 points back from Charlotte, or I'm sorry, Charleston, and they're only 1 point clear of Memphis, 2 points clear of Indy 11, and 3 points clear of Birmingham. So this is a very important match for um, Lou City, and it's also an important match for San Diego. San Diego also sitting in fourth. They're only 3 points back from their third place, which is Orange County. And then they are 1 point clear of fifth place Phoenix Rising and 3 points clear of Oakland. So for both sides, John, this is a critical matchup. As you're kind of looking at this match, kind of what are you seeing from both teams?
So this is interesting matchup because the Loyal, they're kind of all over the place. They haven't.
Say that again.
They don't really beat good teams, but they like
Uh-huh.
dominate. They dominate bad teams. So it's hard to judge because also the Loyal have never beat Blue.
Yep. I was
Ever.
just about to say that. Two matchups, one in 2021, a 2-1 victory for Lou City. The other was a 5-2 victory for Lou City in 2022. And did I see the Lou City schedule right? They play them twice. No, I totally misread that. I thought for some reason they still had to play them twice.
Yeah, I don't think so. Now they've had on paper they're practically the same teams. The only thing is San Diego has a more prolific offense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting because Lou has Lou is weird because they've not conceded that many goals,
Nope.
but they haven't scored much. So this is a really weird game for me to judge because I don't. When you are when you are a side that's even going up against a prolific power offensively, but you guys are even on points, that's really hard for me to judge because that means when the one team scores, they score in bunches.
Yep.
But that also means they're losing games. That they're like a roller coaster of a team.
Well, and
So
even the what's the word I'm looking for here? The goal differential is huge, and it points exactly to what you're saying, John. For San Diego, goal differential plus 11, which is a lot. And then Lou City's currently at -1. So, Lou City lets up less goals, but they've also scored significantly less. San Diego's having to travel across the country. I don't think they have a midweek game. No, they're not hopping in, somewhere in the middle of the country and then coming to Louisville or anything like that.
they are though on Lou is the middle of a three match stretch of road games.
Yes. Yep.
So I'm curious. Like I'm curious if that because let me get to where I was. They played Charleston
Mm-hmm.
in Charleston. And then they play Lou City and Monterey. Do you think seeing them just coming to Louisville and finding a place to practice?
For a whole week? For a franchise that's literally folding? I don't think so.
That might have been cheaper than flying back home and then flying back out. Could have been. Could have been.
No, I don't think it would be because like okay, let's think about it like from a consumer perspective, right? Like yes, they're going to have discounts and all that kind of stuff, right? But like it's probably $300-$400 for that plane ride each way, so to Charleston and back, to Louisville and back. So it's 4 flights, $300. That's $1,200 a player. If you cut that down and you're now at $600 for flights because you went just to Charleston, then you took a bus to Louisville, but then you're having hotels for the week. Yeah, I don't think that would be any cheaper because they're going to be $100 a night with discounts, um, and with partners and stuff like that. So I don't think that seems financially feasible. But who knows? They're not going to be around in a few weeks, so maybe they're just burning money.
Well, and then there's that factor too with San Diego is like how hard are they playing to have like home playoff game in their like farewell season type of thing. That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah, I can't really tell from like their most recent stretch. I mean, even just looking back, the whole month of they got beat 6-0 by Dortmund.
They have not been playing great.
No, lost to Orange County, 1-goal victory over Loudoun. Yeah, one goal victory over Loudoun, a loss to Memphis, a draw with New Mexico, a victory over Rio RGVFC ABC. Now this was a good result. They got 3-0 victory over Birmingham at home. That was good. But then back on the road, lost 2-0 to Charleston. Like I just think Lou City needs to win this match and needs to show that they should win
this match. They need to win, but they should win. I don't like. Right. I'm not a person who likes to guarantee stuff.
No,
but there's like shoulds type thing. Like should is something like you need to win this. You should on paper you should win this.
Yeah,
and that's where that and they do need the win, but
desperately. Because Memphis plays this weekend as well, and they play Hartford, which Hartford is probably the worst team in the league. Goal differential -27, total points 16. So that seems like a guaranteed or an almost guaranteed victory for Memphis. So congratulations, Hartford, on getting another victory. But to keep pace and to keep Memphis at a little bit of a distance, I mean, we're not even a whole arm length in distance. They've got some work to do. So I'm going to predict this one. I'm going to say 2-1. No, that's a cop out. 1-0 Lou City.
AMC 1-0. I'm thinking like 1-1 draw for Lou. They've stumbled as of late, but I think this is a game where they can get back to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see them. That the Loyal is just so up in the air for me of what they could bring that I don't know about guaranteeing a win or saying they will win. They should win, but I don't see them winning per se. I don't see them losing though.
Well, so John, now we'll switch over to Racing Louisville, who are at home on Friday night against the Houston Dash, which is a really cool name. Last time these two teams played was in group play of the Challenge Cup. That game was in Houston in July. So it was nice and breezy. No, it was 1.5 billion degrees. Final score in that one, Houston 1, Racing 0. They had met earlier in the Challenge Cup, and Racing had won that game at home 3-0. So on paper, you would think that this would be a pretty easy victory for Racing, right?
I don't know. These sides are really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like outside of the Challenge Cup, their last 3 league matches have all ended in a draw.
Yep.
They drew 0-0 earlier, like at the start of the season, and I'm curious to see how many, because there's a lot of racing players are getting called up to international duty.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a few. I'm curious to see if they play. I think they will, because it's the 15th and all these games are being played like 8 or so days after that. But that's where I'm like, how much are they going to play? I don't know. That's always something I'm very curious about, is how much does international call up sway managers? Like, how much sway do you give to international, especially like just friendlies, post World Cup friendlies? So is Coach Cameron going to be like, I don't care, let's go all out to win this. I don't care if Themby gets hurt and can't play for South Africa. Like, it would, like, he cares if Themby gets hurt, but in the sense
Right.
of like, I don't care if she's gassed for South Africa. I need to win, type of thing. That's what I'm curious about.
And I think he will. I think he will go for it. I don't know if he'll. I mean, again, it depends on who's there and who's available and whatnot. But I think there's even a chance that this team is good enough with those players gone to still get results. I mean, if you go back to the Challenge Cup, you can see that this team is still talented enough to get results against, Houston. Sorry, I forgot what city they were in. Without some of the biggest stars. So I'm going to predict this one. I'm saying Lou City. Oh, Jesus. Racing Louisville is going to take the victory. I'm going to go 2-1.
I think it's going to be more like 2-0 Racing.
I wanted to say that, but I was like,
Because
maybe.
where I'm like questioning this, Houston is not, their offense kind of sucks. They're last in the league offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Racing has not lost at home in 7 matches. They It's Katie Lund or Long Leg Lund or whatever they're calling her now.
Long leg Lund.
Yeah. Um, she's been playing well. What I'll be curious about is how they bounce back from 3 games in 8 days, type of thing, and they don't get like a full week's rest. They kind of
Yeah.
do, but they don't at the same time. So I'm a little curious how that goes for them,
And,
especially with
and
all
it's
the
been a
travel.
busy week for them. Like, not even
Yeah,
with
they've
that,
had
like, the
there's like
mayor
that
was there.
foundation. The mayor invited them to come out to City Hall or whatever, which is, they all live in Louisville, so that's not that
Right.
bad. But there's like a bunch of stuff with the Lou Foundation that's been going on a lot. So I don't know how much these players have gotten to rest outside of training, because that's also the thing I've like told some people is like, people are getting mad at Lex who's like, the players need to be more, you need to do more of this and that. And I was like, the players also need time to like be themselves.
Be a human being. It's okay.
They
You can do that.
practice for, I don't know, 6-7 hours probably. Not full on the field practice, film study, recovery, yada yada stuff, but they're doing stuff in that sense of game prep, probably 5 to 6 hours a day, type of thing.
Easy.
A lot of the Lex players run their own business too. Like Charlie does training sessions with a lot of the academy players. And so, like, it's hard to schedule all that type of stuff. And Racing's been doing a lot this week, because what sucks for women's soccer is that they have to, like, you need to be in, like, be super community driven to, like, get people to support you. So,
Yeah, and I think they have a genuine caring heart for the city. I mean, if you look at Amina Ekic and everything that she was doing um, with the refugees and stuff like that, so I think they really have genuine care as well. But yes, it is a heavy demand on them. But I think we're on the same page. A victory should be in sight and should be relatively obtainable. But I think John, you bring up some good points of what could be some potential stumbling blocks for racing heading into this match. John will close out the pro teams by heading over to Lexington, who have a match on Sunday with the Charleston Independent. John,
Yes,
how
so
do you?
all
Yeah,
Kentucky teams are playing at home this weekend
Friday,
in
Saturday, Sunday.
three straight days. And it's going from top to bottom
Yep.
in terms of leagues.
Yep, and I mean also in ranking order as well. It was a cheap shot at Lexington. Sorry.
You're saying racing's over Lou?
No, I'm like in their standing for like in their league.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah. If I still did my power rankings, they would be.
I mean, yes, that's fine. So this matchup's interesting for Lex. Like I know I say this a lot, but it truly is because Charlotte is a team we've beaten. It's a team that kind of beat their win over us was like they didn't win, but it wasn't like dominating.
2-1 late winner, right?
Yeah, it's
The
not.
story of their season.
The story of the season's been late equalizers race.
Or late equalizer, yes.
Um, so they come into this a little different. Charlotte has played the two worst teams in the league recently. In Red Wolves and Fuego. Um, they have not beat a playoff team in their last 5. They lost to NoCo and they drew with Knoxville, who Knox has the chance. It sucks for me to say this. Knox has the most genuine chance out of the outside teams to get in, just because of where they're
Ew.
at.
Ew.
Yes, it's very ew, but they beat Tormenta when they needed to beat Tormenta, and they're in the back. That's Knoxville being a defensive team means they get that like
I
just
mean, I
slug
guess
it
I would
out.
rather have Knoxville in than Greenville. So eat it, Greenville.
But Charlotte, Madison, and Greenville, it's really 3 teams are the question marks of if they'll which one of them is going to drop out.
Yeah, 2
And
points
so,
clear for all of 3 of those teams.
but that's only 2 points.
Yeah.
Knoxville is 1 point behind Greenville. Charlotte
Yep.
has a bit of a cushion. They're 7 points from Knoxville.
Yeah.
However, they have not been helping themselves lately. They have 3 wins in their last 5. It's very questionable. Like they're 6 points out of third from Union Omaha. So
Who have won what, 6 in a row, something like
8
that?
straight.
8 straight. Yeah, yeah.
They have won 8 straight, and so the top of the league is tight. North Carolina only has 1 point over NoCo and Omaha, and
1 point.
Omaha's great run, yes, has gotten them within this striking distance. However, they had struggled so mightily in the beginning that 24 straight points does not have them in first.
Right.
The thing with Charlotte that concerns people is that they have played the most games out of the playoff teams. They have played 1 extra game. So everyone else on them, they're tied with Knoxville and Tormenta, but everyone else around them is 1 less game. So it's really off Greenville. It really could be only really a 2-point cushion if you say that extra game is a win.
Yeah.
So it's really Charlotte's coming into Lexington needing a win to essentially, I think, solidify their odds in the playoffs. But Lexington also coming into this pissed.
As they should be.
Not only because of the result, but also because of the incident. I would expect Knight to be on his game against the side he has to get on a shutout against. I would expect Knight to be on his game, especially with Fuego's stupid PSA. I'm sorry. That was the most
Tell the people about that.
That's a copy-paste statement. If they had put that out, if they had put that out like Sunday night, late Sunday night in our case, or Monday morning, whatever. That's fine. Right.
But it came out what, Tuesday?
That's just like get that out there, make a statement type thing, get a statement out. That's fine. I'm fine with copy paste. It is Wednesday.
Oh, it came out today? I thought it came out yesterday.
Yeah, it came out early today. Like at like 5 our time. 5 or 6 our time.
Jeez.
So that means it took them 2.5 days to come up with that statement. I don't know if that's the league per se telling them that sort of stuff. We had reached out tonight for a comment, or his agency, and they said he can't due to the league's investigation. So I don't know if that was the league requiring them to just be quiet. But
yeah,
2.5 days later, that's not the type
of too long.
You made
too long
type of thing. But I expect Lex to come into this. Lex is still one of the best teams at home. They are, yes, they are 5th, but that we are.
I mean, it's our first year, so that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, we're a point behind Omaha. Or we're not a point behind. We're 7 points behind Omaha, who's the best. Charlotte is a really good team at home as well. But on the road, that's
not nearly as good.
They're not as good. Put it this way. Yes, Lexington has had its struggles on the road. We're not the worst road team, but we've had our struggles on the road. Charlotte only has 14 points on the road. We have 6. And Charlotte's a playoff team. So they're a good team. They're a top 6 team right now. But they are slightly better than the Kickers on the road. And we beat the Kickers at our home ground. We beat and drew with them. So I'm in my heart, I want this to be a win. But it's our 3rd time playing a team. Every other team that we beat and they beat us has ended in a draw. Which means we are due to beat Greenville and Greenville.
God, we better. Wipe them off. Wipe that green snot stain off the league. We have not.
We've lost. The only season series we lost was to Knox, which was.
Ooh.
But outside of that, we've tied every other series.
That's not the one to lose.
I admit it's not the one to lose, but our season series we tied with Richmond. Season series with Fuego is tied. Season series with Tormenta is tied. Omaha, we split because we only played 2 games. NoCo is tied.
Wait, Madison, Fuego. Sorry, pulling it back here. We played them 3 times now, right? Yeah. 2 there, once at home. Lost 2 of them.
No.
Did we draw that first one?
We didn't lose on Sunday.
Oh, see, it was such a late thing that I really just felt like it was a loss.
But Madison, we have a draw and a loss against. North Carolina is, I think, the next team we play 3 times. But we have essentially even a series, which I will say this. For a team that's an expansion side and everyone picked to be the bottom team of the league, drawing with basically every single team in the league, even series, not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all.
You would want to win them, and we can go win the series against the Independents. But the way our luck is going, it's feeling like it's going to end in a draw. Because it's going to be this way. It's going to be, you already beat them once. They beat you once. Now it's a draw.
You got to beat them. Well, I disagree.
Want them to beat them.
I don't see this match ending in a draw. I see a definite winner, and I think that relies. in Lexington. That's right.
My
I'm
logic,
thinking 2-0. I don't even think that Charlotte should even show up.
my
I think they're
logic
going to win.
is the Lex is mad and they're wanting to
Yes.
prove themselves and they can do it. I'm saying like the way the magic or like the mojo around this season would
Uncle Mo.
be a draw. But I don't think Knight or anybody is going to play that way. Yes.
Right.
But the way trends are going, it's having me think a draw. But I don't my heart is not saying draw. Or my heart's saying draw, my brain's not. Because
I'm going full on 2-0 victory. I think it's a perfect recipe. I think the boys are going to be teed off and they're going to be ready to fight, and this is just a buzzsaw that Charlotte is walking into, and I cannot wait for them to just release all of this frustration that from everything that happened both in the game and out of the game last Sunday. Just take it all their aggression out on Charlotte.
I'm thinking like 1-0 Lex.
Okay. Well, John, with that all complete, let's now move on down to our college ranks. First, want to talk about some rankings as we have some teams that are ranked. And John, you pulled that information. Do you want to talk about it?
Let me double check some stuff because NAIA might have updated or D2 might have updated. But Louisville is up to 5th in the men's side of things, getting 164 out of total points. They have not received any first place votes yet, but they are right behind West Virginia. A little bit of a gap between them and Stanford, but Louisville is up there. They're top 5. They're the national contender right now in the state.
And I think they are the best men's team in the state. They really took Kentucky behind the woodshed in that match, and then they played very closely with Syracuse last week. I'm really interested to see what they do continuing ACC play. It's still a long season ahead of them. A lot of things could still go squirrely, but I think they have what it takes to be a Final Four team and to play at home in Louisville, not at their home stadium per se, but to still be able to sleep in their apartments for the NCAA Final Four in December.
That would be awesome.
It would be great.
The UK, there's no Kentucky teams ranked in D1 women's or even receiving votes, neither with any D2 sides. Last I checked, which is really weird with the women's side because the UK women's have been rolling. I don't know if it's just a case. It's like the AP poll. It's really hard if you're ranked in the top 25. It's hard to drop out unless you have like an embarrassing loss. Oh, and UK is at 24 in the men's side, so they're dropping, but
still there, still in the top 25.
Yes, there's none in the D3 either. It appears. I'm just double checking right now. Yes, none in the D3. I can find in NAIA the NAIA should have dropped today. So let me double check on those. Yes, here we go. In the men's, Lindsey Wilson stays at 5th in the country for the men's side. Union has moved up to Union and Cumberland are like the best of the rest of the top 25 on the men's side, both receiving the highest amounts of votes. Outside the top 25, that's it for the men. And then the women, sorry, y'all.
You good?
I had this pulled up. Computer's going a little slow. Cumberland's drops down to third in the women's side. That's just because they've had two ties where the two top ranked teams are both undefeated. Anything else? Lindsay Campbellsville dropped out of the top 25 on the women's side. Lindsay Wilson is picking up votes. Campbellsville still picks up votes. They just dropped out. And that is it for NAIA. And then last I checked with the NCCAA, which is a little weird because there are NCAA schools that are involved with that in the rankings. Because Campbellsville is ranked 5th in the men's D1 rankings. Boyce, last I saw for the D2, was ranked 5th. Let me double check on these. Just seeing if everything. On the women's side, Campbellsville is ranked 10th out of 10. In the
Good
D1
to see Campbellsville, both men and women, in the top 10. I think that's really good.
Yes, but there's only 10. They only rank 10.
But like
it's really confusing because, like I said, Campbellsville. I believe that's Campbellsville Harrisburg, and it's
the main Campbellsville. Because Campbellsville Harrisburg is not very good. I just looked at their record. They're 1-2-0.
The men or the women?
That was the women. My apologies. The men are 1-3-1.
The women's side in the NCCAA D1 had only one win. That was ranked 10th. So that's where I'm questioning.
Hell of a victory.
And they didn't have any others receiving votes. So that's where I'm questioning how many schools in the NCCAA have soccer. Because like Campbellsville Harrisburg only has like soccer and basketball. Are the only sports they run. Boyce runs like 3 sports total. So I was like, how many
men's soccer, but not
not women's. So how many of these schools are running soccer programs in the NCCAA?
Yeah. And then we did go for it. Yep, thank you.
St. Xavier was number 12, but they have dropped out of the top 25. They're still getting votes. High school is really weird, I've noticed, because it's very it's on the tip of my tongue. It's very momentum based, and like you can have like a bad game. Like you have to dominate to be a top 25 team in the country. You can't slip up.
Nope. Gotta be undefeated.
You gotta be undefeated, and you gotta be like not unless you're going up against another top school. You have to essentially destroy everybody. And I need to check records, but my best guess is St. Xavier didn't destroy someone that people thought they should have, and that's why they're not in the top 25.
Which has to be frustrating, right? Like you're doing the best you can, but
well, there's like Dunbar, Paul Lawrence Dunbar of Lexington has won 2 straight Kentucky State titles, and they're like insanely good, and they're not even ranked. So there's a high school stuff I question because it's a lot of private schools. I question, is it really the best teams, or is it just the best teams that have the money where they can play other good teams?
Right, and they recruit and all that kind of stuff, but that is a whole nother topic to dive into on another day. Moving now to the Bluegrass Soccer Cast College Cup rankings. We have an expanded top 5 for this week because there are some schools that are tied at 4th place, all with 19 points. We have 3 schools there. We have, starting from let's see, how do I want to do that? Number 4, and again, there are 3 of them. The University of Louisville men have 4 wins and 1 tie, with 2 of those wins over Kentucky schools. So they currently sit in 4th place with 19 points. The exact same stats for Georgetown women. Then we have Northern Kentucky women, who have 3 wins, 1 loss, 3 ties, and with an in-state record of 2 wins and 1 tie, giving them that extra bonus point and in-state points. So they would be the top ranked of all of those 4th place teams. And then things have gotten very interesting up near the top here. Coming in at number 3 with 21 points, we have Union College men, who are currently undefeated, 4-0, and 3 of those victories have come against Kentucky schools. So they sit with 21 points. Second place, we have Campbellsville men, who are 5-1-1 with 16 total points. 2 victories over Kentucky schools, giving them a total of 22 points. And before I reveal number 1, I do want to give a special shout out to Midway women, who made a huge jump in the overall rankings, moving up from 37th all the way up to number 10 this week. So congratulations to them for making that big jump. But number 1, the current best team in the state, University of Kentucky women, who currently sit at 6 wins, 0 losses, 1 draw, with 2 victories over in-state opponents, giving them a grand total of 24 points. Now, if we're looking long term here, I think it's going to come down to either Union College or Campbellsville men, because they just have more opportunities to play in-state foes. And I think that's going to give them that leg up. I think UK women would pretty much have to go undefeated the rest of the way to keep that status, because Union and Campbellsville are coming quickly. They're only 2 points behind for Union. 2 points back for Campbellsville, 3 points back for Union. So it's going to be an interesting race, man, and I am very excited to see how this shakes out. John, you want to talk about our Golden Boot and Golden Glove leaders?
Yes, for Golden Boot, like we said, Felix was technically the leader last week, but since the match against Alice Lloyd for Campbellsville men has been moved to an exhibition, he lost 2 goals, so he's no longer the leader. The current leader, based on tiebreaker, is Carson Smith of Georgetown College women, who has 6 goals and 3 assists. And then there is a 3-way tie for second between Jordan Rose of UK women's, Gage Guerrera of Louisville men's, and Sebastian Trigasti of Lindsey Wilson men, who all have 6 goals apiece, but neither of them have any assists. So they could break that tie if they just pick up an assist or a goal.
Pass it over.
Then there is a 2-way tie for fifth. No, that'd be fifth, because a 3-way tie for second. Between Angela Kai of Campbellsville women, who has 5 goals and 2 assists, as well as Jaden Bolter of Cumberland women, who has 5 goals and 2 assists. And then right behind them, in terms of those who have 5 goals but not in the top 5, is Felix Boomberg, who has 5 goals, 1 assist, and Beal Valverdu of Union, men who has just 5 goals. There's a lot of people in there who are doing really good. Schneider, St. Louis from boys could be doing, possibly might have more goals. Boyce's stat keeping is really weird. But he's there with, he's right near the top with 3 goals and 3 assists. But it's really tight race overall. The Golden Glove, on the other hand, is kind of tight, but there is a group of 5 that are separating themselves from the rest, and that is first Ashley Greenwell of Brescia,
Brescia.
Brescia, shush you.
Brescia, like Marsha from the Brady Bunch. You're too young for that. Never mind.
Yeah.
Hey, that's my thing. It's smoother.
Who has 50 saves in 4 matches. Doesn't have a shutout, but she is averaging 12.5 saves a game. So you take it why she doesn't have a shutout.
That's a great question.
Well, no, I can tell you why she doesn't have a shutout. She's having 12 saves a game. That's at 12 and a half, so that's at least 13 shots at her a game.
All over the field.
And that's on target. That is on target shots. Then is Christian Outzer of Kentucky Christian Men, who has 44 saves with 1 shutout. Chair Istanto of Union, Kira, I think it's Kira, of Insanto of Union Women, who has 38 with no shutouts. And then Ern Gibbs of Moorhead is the top D1 keeper with 37 saves and 1 shutout. But in my opinion, the best keeper is Michaela Kowalski of NKU Women, who has 36 saves, but she has 4 shutouts. For Kowalski's sake, the only person who has more shutouts is Mars Josephine of Kentucky. But let me double check this. Last I saw, Mars Josephine has 14 saves.
Wow.
With 5 shutouts. There's also Deja Thomas of Georgetown Women, who has 4 saves as well, but she also is really low. So, whereas Michaela Kowalski is very much a part of her team's success, the others are just kind of riding the coattails of it as keepers when you only have, especially for Josephine, they've played 6-7 matches now. That's averaging like 2 saves a match. So
yeah, that's not that much. Well, with all of that out of the way, we will wrap up today's episode of the Bluegrass Soccer Cast. If you enjoyed the show and you enjoyed our banter and our content, we would really always like to welcome any and all support. We have a Buy Us Coffee account. Feel free to scan the QR code on the screen there, or it's always right above my shoulder over here. Of course, all the money goes to support the show, yada, yada, yada. The show will always be free. You know the drill at this point. We do thank all of those who have donated to this point. And then to close it out completely, where's my script? There it is. I want to thank everybody for supporting the show, watching, interacting, commenting, liking, sharing, etc. Please make sure that you're following us on all of our social media sites, such as Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. All of those handles are at BG Soccercast. Make sure to give us a listen on all your favorite podcasting platforms like Spotify, Google, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple, and so many more. And while you're there, go on and subscribe to those channels. Hit the follow button, share it with a friend, and just continue to help us grow this awesome platform that we've built. But with all that out of the way, I'm Jimmy, that's John, and we will see you on the next one.